Okay, alrighty. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Angela Thornhill, and I'm on Chris Webb's team, Team Shockwave. So I'm in Summer's Downline over in that corner, and I'm really excited to be here and to talk to you. My very first Danny event was in Cleveland, and it was kind of a funny story. Last October, I knew that it was something that it was time. I needed to go, and I was getting pushed. I knew it was a good push. So I bought tickets for my husband and I, and turns out October is probably the worst month, our busiest month for our family. So I realized I couldn't be at 2 or 3 places at once. So I ended up I went to call to get a refund, and it was too close to the event. So they gave me a year credit, which was perfect because I wanted to go anyway. But even having the credit there, I found every time an event came up, there was an excuse. There was a reason why I couldn't go. It was hard work to, put things together and make it work and have places for the kids and figure out a plane ticket and all that good stuff. So it just seemed a little too hard. So I went, I'll wait until she's closer to the West Coast. And after a couple of events and some people that talked, and my push partner, Jess, that had talked after her first event on a webinar, and I went, all right, I really need to stop finding excuses, and I just need to make it happen. And it was the best thing, obviously, and completely changed my life. Hi, you say hi to everybody. The topic that I wanted to talk about was taking ownership, because this was really huge. I don't know about anyone else, but my entire life growing up, I lived in a household that was always said, oh, we're the Lamonts. If we didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have any. And there was always someone to blame or something to blame for things that would happen in our lives, always. Mama, so I grew up with that joke. Really, it became a joke. Mama, go play with the toys. No, it's not Mama. They're a bunch of ladies, not Mama. Mama's at work. So I grew up and got out of the house, met my husband, and it was kind of funny because we got together and he said the same kind of stuff. He would say, oh, the Thornhills, if we didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have any. And I think he kind of grew up with that mindset as well. So I just kind of went from one to the next, and it was always the same. So even starting our family as young as we did, and he was in the Marine Corps, so we went from a couple different military bases, and if something didn't go quite our way, it was always well, it was just, that's what happens to us, and that's just the way it is, and that there was no way of changing that. But we weren't to blame, right? It's always somebody else. So that was something that really hit me at Danny Johnson, was that when she talked about, taking ownership, and really all of that is our ego, and really digging deep and finding out, all about our ego, like where everything is, where our egos are rooted from and what they are. And when she went down that list, I mean, it was pretty crazy. I kind of went, oh, wow, check mark. That's pretty much my whole life. We're always blaming, I think, our kids and our husbands or our bosses or the situations that's happened. Like, I can honestly say, like, I had my check-in with Jess yesterday, and I felt embarrassed to tell her that I had to take ownership of not doing what I said I was going to do last week. And I allowed my time to get distracted, even though as busy as it was, and it was the first week of school, there were certain things that I pushed back to the end of my schedule that I should have tackled first. You know how Danny and even Shailene will say, do what you don't like first, and get it done. And I wasn't doing that. I was picking and choosing the fun things, like catching up on the social media training and catching up on this and doing that. I was putting my invites, I was putting them at the very end. And then there were some days that they didn't even get done. I didn't even get to them. And then I blamed everything else. Oh, it was the day. If the day didn't go that way, then that's why it didn't happen. But, really, I think we have to just take ownership of saying, you know what, it's nobody else's job to motivate me. It's nobody else's job to get these things done. And you have to own that. And yeah, exactly, Kristen, like every single, it happens every day. And if we don't catch ourselves every single day and every single time that a situation is happening, we're going to find ourselves just blaming it on something else of why we didn't do something. And, one thing that Danny had said, or a lot of things that Danny said that really hit me was, to take an inventory of your life and stop complaining about every tiny little thing. I freaked out last week because my little 5-year-old wanted to paint my nails, as he likes to give me mani-pedis, and we didn't have time. And I said, hold on, I just need to sit down for 2 minutes because I had been going. I said, we'll do them in a little bit, buddy. And he was carrying the nail polish, and one of them was black, and he insists on putting black nail polish on me, and dropped it on the tile floor. And I have black nail polish all over my tile. And I got upset and I freaked out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to sit here and scrub this off. Like, when am I going to figure out how to do this? Because there's a list of things in my head that I hadn't even gotten to yet. And a poor little guy, he's looking at me, he's like, sorry, mommy. And I just went, oh, you know what? It was an accident and it's going to happen. And it's technically nobody's fault. I mean, it's an accident. It happened. So I just have to take ownership of that and be like, okay, no big deal. Like, I'm the mom. We will get it cleaned up, and maybe you can help me. And I'm not going to stress about it. I didn't have time to get to it at that moment. It's still sitting on my floor. I have scheduled time this afternoon to scrub it. Right? Everyone walks in the house. My teenagers are like, are we gonna, oh, that's still there? Because my daughter's been working. And it's still there. And maybe you can jump in and help me if you're home, but you know what I mean? But it's not a big deal, and it will come off, and it's okay. But, no one's going to motivate you to get any of your stuff done that you have on your to-do list. So I think for me, like, I had to realize that I have to stop complaining about every tiny little thing that goes on throughout the day, and bring in the craziness. It's going to be chaos. Things are going to happen. I didn't get my workout done like I wanted to this morning because at 6 o'clock when I was going to push play, my 5-year-old decided to wake up and wanted to snuggle. And I went, okay, I'll do it after our Danny call. So you have to rearrange some things, but you have to look, also, something too that I realized was that putting away all those egos, which is, the complaining and blaming other people for everything else of why I'm not where I'm at, that's all ego, and just shutting that up, and me just shutting up, like shutting my mouth and just following directions. You know what? There's directions in front of us for everything in our life, like, parenting and I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to sit there and blame the fact that, well, this is how I was brought up, so this is the kind of parent that I am. No, darn it. You know what I mean? Like, we can change that. And I'm not going to be that parent that says that. I'm going to learn from the right tools. The Bible's in front of me. We have all these amazing tools that are given to us every single day, and we just need to utilize them. And if we're not, then that's our fault, that we're not opening those books up, or we're not getting those trainings, and we're not skilling ourselves. It's our job to skill ourselves with the right and feed ourselves with the right input. Otherwise, we're not going to make that change. We can't sit around complaining every day because we don't have maybe the kind of relationship we want with our husbands, or whatever the case is. It takes one person to make a change. One person. And it's hard to do because I've been there and I've done that already 3 years ago. when my husband left for a month and then came home, because we were at that point. And it took one person saying, okay, putting away the ego and just owning it and making the change. But it's, I own the fact that I am not a good driver. I used to get offended, and my husband would joke about it sometimes and things like that. And I would get offended inside, I wouldn't show it, but I would think, wow, no one's talking about how bad driver I am. I mean, this really stinks, right? That's not what I want to be known as. But you know what? It's okay. I know that I'm not a great driver. I try and do my best. Have I ran into my garage door several times? Absolutely. But you know what? That's okay, because one day we will be financially secure to where if I run into the garage door and it was an accident, we'll just replace it. It's just the way it's going to be. But, for me, I think in order to take ownership, it's just realizing that nothing's going to happen unless I do it. So we got back from Danny, and, I started making some changes. Like, my teenagers are going to stay lazy and not want to do their rooms, or not want to take care of the certain chores that they have, or the certain jobs that they have. Whose fault is that if they stay that way? It's mine, because I'm allowing that to happen. Right? So, my husband and I got really comfortable for a little while, and I realized it when I got back from Cleveland. No, it's not, Mama. Yeah. And I realized that we were a little comfortable, I think, getting a little too comfortable in our relationship. And I went, darn it, you know what? That's not how I want it. So it's time to own that, and it's time to make whatever changes we needed to make there, so that, things spiced up and we started talking a little bit more instead of being a little bit too quiet in different situations. My bank account is not where I want it to be. There's no one else to blame but myself. I allow it to get drained. Why do I do that? Because I'm not using the tools, right? So I was at Danny. I learned these awesome tools. So it's time. It's time to open up that book, print out that bank statement, highlight what I need to highlight. I haven't done it yet because, to be honest, it probably scares me to really look at the facts and see where all the junk is going. But you have to do it. And if you don't, you're not taking ownership of that. And you can't make changes if you don't take the ownership first. So it's just taking responsibility of your life, and that's where I feel where that's at, and how to make those changes and what to do is just taking action. Like, what you believe is what you conceive, right? We're told that every second of every day, but it's so true. Until I started believing in myself, it was hard to take action on things, because I would feel that I'm not I'm not worthy, or I'm not smart enough. So I know that I can probably make it to a certain level, and I'll do okay in my business maybe, or as a parent, or in my relationship, but I'm never going to be there. Why not? Every single one of us can be there. We just have to keep learning and be teachable and keep instilling all those skills that we get from Danny and from attending her events. Somebody said something. Who said something? Yeah, Kristen, it took 2 trips to Danny plus a month or 2 to finally print out my things. Okay, so I don't feel so bad. I haven't done it yet. And they don't, Kristen. Nothing's gonna work. I came home so fired up, and I was like, oh, seriously, a different person. And I have been a very different person since. But you come home after being there, like any other event, and then you get, caught up in their daily stuff that's going on, and the negativity that's, being fired at you from every direction in life, and just walking down the street or going to the store, that, you tend to lose some of that, that fire gets lost. So I think it's important that, you keep attending these events so that we continuously get fed. But really it's just, you know, if like, I know that I can't attend every single one, obviously, but would I like to make sure that I go like twice a year, like in every 6-month thing? That's my goal. That's going to be something that I set for myself, because I know that I need that, and to take my team, because everybody needs that. All the healing and everything that you get from it, but you can go as many times as you want, but if you don't utilize what's given to us and keep learning in those skills that are given to us, then there's no use in going, really. But you know, one thing I found too is you know, how we see ourselves. What Danny says is how we see ourselves. We will act and dress. So I have been all last week, and in fact, I started it because school had started. So I started like this new 5 a.m. schedule of mine, and it's like I get up, I spend my time in the Word. Yeah, 5 a.m. is super hard because I'm not a morning person at all, like at all. It's a huge victory for me. So thanks, Kristen. You know, my alarm goes off. Sometimes it takes about 10-15 minutes to get out of that bed, like it did this morning, but I'm up. And I spend my time with my devotional and in the Word, and that's how I'm starting my morning. And then by then it's, you know, getting kids ready for school, and hopefully if I can get my workout done before it's time to wake them up, great. If not, like this morning, my 5-year-old will wake up sometimes and want that extra love and time, and that's okay. I used to get really upset about that, but why am I getting upset over my son wanting me? You know what I mean? One day he's going to be older, like my 2 teenagers in the other rooms, and just come out of their room, you know, with their finger in their nose or something, going, do I really have to go to school right now? So, you know, I gotta make that time for him and not complain about it, right? That's why I'm doing this. I'm making changes so that we can have a better life, so that I can enjoy my time with them even more. So not gonna complain and get upset about that. I'm gonna embrace that and love him. And if I do my workout after I get him to school, then so be it. That's what happens. But I've been making a point, like I would sit down, I would stay sweaty all day in my workout clothes, and just, you know, do my work, and then getting the kids from school, and then it's this and that. And so my husband would come home and I'd be kind of smelly still. I'd be like, sorry babe, like I still stink. I haven't even had a chance to shower yet. And that's not what he wants to come home to. You know what I mean? I probably want to smell a little bit better. So I've been trying to, you know, last week I would make sure I showered in the morning, and I got dressed. I had clothes on, you know, like not workout clothes, regular clothes, you know, put my makeup on, and then I would sit down, and it felt different. I'd sit down at the computer and I'm doing, you know, well, I didn't do a lot of invites because that was already discussed, but I did, you know, working on my training. I had a lot of follow-up, so I did do that. New coach, new stuff. So I did actually make some things happen, but not as much as I wanted. So I'm sitting there doing my work, and I felt different. You know, you have a little bit of a different confidence in yourself, a belief in yourself that, you know, you're a little bit more of a professional. And then when I do have to run out of the house, you know, I kind of enjoyed when I ran into people, when I went and ran errands, that I still wasn't in my workout clothes than I was earlier that morning. I felt, even though I'm I think a sociable person and I can talk to almost anybody, but I felt more like I wanted to step into that conversation because I felt good. You know, I was clean. I smelled good. My hair was done. I had some makeup on. I had some regular clothes on. Not that I'm out and about all the time because I'm a busy mom, but when I do, you know, have to run an errand or something, it felt different. So I think it's like taking ownership of so much of that. You know, you as a professional, taking ownership as a mom, you know, put your foot down. You know, this isn't the way this is going to be. You know, a lot of times I get tired and I've let things go, especially as I've gotten older, and I have my 2 teenagers and then my 5-year-old. So I kind of slack on some things. You know, one thing Danny Johnson said that really hit me in the gut too was, you know, complaining and saying, you know, my kids don't know Jesus like I want them to know. And I get bummed out about that, and I want that to change. Well, you know what? I can't drag them, and I can't force anything down them. The change is going to happen in me. And when the question was asked, do my children see me open my Bible or see me read my devotional and spend time in the Word? No. And now that I'm getting up early in the morning and I'm not doing it in front of them. So, you know, I've been thinking about that. Maybe I need to make a change to where I love that I start my day that way, but maybe sometime in the afternoon before maybe having a little bit of, you know, a few minutes of some sit down time after school, where my son's like, you know, kind of having a snack and resting. Maybe we take that time and we read a little bit together, even if it's 5 minutes, but, you know, maybe even something from his Bible or whatever, you know, and so that way they're not going to grow unless they see me growing, you know, my personal development, anything like that. So why am I going to complain that my kids aren't growing and having a closer relationship with God if they're not seeing me do it? So that was really huge. And that right there is taking ownership and, you know, in your family's faith and the growth in their faith. So that was huge for me. You know, if there's something that you see that you evaluate, you know, like we're told to evaluate ourselves constantly. And if there's something that you're not really liking, or that you feel like you're putting the blame on other people or the situations that are around you a little too much, then that's when we need to stop and think, you know, think about it and think, okay, that's my ego. And I really just need to take ownership of that. We got back from Summit, and that video that Summer had posted a video, I think it was in the Rooftop Leaders group, but it was kind of a kick in the pants, right? She kind of was yelling at us. Then it was kind of odd. I don't know how this happened, but my husband about the next day pretty much did the same thing with me. And he's like, so how is this, you know, this and this going? And I went, well, you know, we have a training on Monday night and I haven't had a chance to do this, or I haven't had a chance to do that. And he's like, well, why not? Not that he's like, and at first of course it's my husband. So at first I get offended and I take it as he's now all of a sudden trying to be pushy on me because we're back from Summit. And he's like, what's the matter with you? You're back from Summit and you're like, normally you're fired up. And I'm like, I am fired up, but 2 days later, I also got to go school shopping. Like I have a whole bunch of things on my mind. And he said, he's like, what did Gary say at Summit? Google it, find it. Don't wait on somebody to teach you how to do something. Don't wait on somebody to, you know, tell you what you need or what you don't need to do. Take ownership of it and go do it, you know? So after he was, and he was actually very good about the way he was, you know, explaining it to me, and a little, you know, a little firm in his words, you know, kind of fired up himself. And I just had to look at him like, you know, I was trying to make excuses, like I was firing back excuses at him, and I had to stop. And I went, all right, you know what? You're right. You're right. I do have to take ownership. I got to stop making excuses, put away the ego, and just do it. And that comes from confidence too, right? And the belief in yourself. And if you lack that, and we all do, I mean, it's like a roller coaster, you know, going on in our minds and in our hearts all the time. So if we are constantly checking ourselves, I think that that helps. You know, I have to stop a lot and reevaluate myself in every situation, like throughout the whole day. And I've caught myself doing that more, which is good because I think it's something that we should always do. That'll keep us, I think, from maybe lashing out when we shouldn't, when we get frustrated about situations and things at home, or even with our team, you know, the whole gossip issue, you know, you might vent and say something just to get it off your chest, but you got to realize who's on the other end of that. So, to be honest, there's sometimes if I get frustrated about things, I'll do it in the shower. Nobody's around me, right? I can talk to myself in there and the shower's running, you know, if I'm frustrated about something that's not happening or why do I keep getting stood up by the same exact person, and why am I allowing that to happen? Like, when do I put my foot down and make sure that she understands that I value her time, but she needs to value my time too. You know what I mean? And that's a respect thing. So how do I do that without hurting someone's feelings? So I'm, sitting there, I can complain and I can vent and I can talk to myself in the shower, and I know that I'm not accidentally doing it to my upline or a downline that's a good friend, forgetting that she's my downline, or so, you know what I mean? I mean, anything. And your husband doesn't want to hear all the junk either. I mean, I talk to him, and he likes to hear exciting stuff and things like that, but certain little things like that he doesn't really understand, and I don't expect him to. I want to spend our conversation time in other conversations. So, the venting doesn't need to be. I have been talking way too long. Oh my gosh, I think I started and then I just didn't even take a breath. Does anybody have any questions, or elaborate, or tell a story or something, an experience of yours, or I don't know, did that go with the topic what I talked about? I get so nervous. I don't know why I get nervous, because I absolutely love to talk. Cool.
I'll have something. My kids are kind of loud, but I'll try to say. So as far as ownership, I feel like, I know we've talked about this, and I'm sure you guys all think about this and talk about it too. I feel like I am good at taking ownership for myself and my own business, or my own lack of invites or SE or not, or whatever. But I'm struggle to help my team to do that, not to just take ownership, but to do well. And so if they're not doing well, sorry if that's loud, then I take that on myself, which I know I can't, but I also want to take ownership of what could I do better, or what am I not doing well? What am I not doing right? How could I improve it? And take the ownership for my lack of leadership. Does that make sense? I don't know if any of you guys ever have any thoughts about that. Anybody?
Yeah.
Of how you can help your team to take ownership for themselves, but also what I can do better, I guess, is something. I'm going to mute because my 4 kids are loud over there.
No, Jen, that is huge, because I know I struggle with that all the time. And as my team grows, or some leave, and then, or whatever, I think, what can I be doing better as a leader? What am I not doing that I should be doing for them? Is it me? Am I missing something? I got really into doing, I think, a little too much. And then I had to step back and realize that I was holding both their hands and their feet and their bottom off the ground and carrying them around on my shoulder. And that's not going to work either, right? So I think I love the fact when as soon as Summer had started talking more, and it hit me about asking them for permission to, hey, do you want, I can remind you, if this is what you want, or this is what you're fighting for, remind them what they're fighting for and why they're doing this. And, can I have permission to remind you when you get off track, or when you gear off, and to help you back on track, and to discuss and find out what is our next step, instead of just sitting around in limbo. That was something, in fact, my PS coach, Heather, and I are going to be running a new Like a Boss training. We have a handful of them that say that they've wanted to do this and wanted to grow, but really haven't committed. So we put it out there, and we did this whole group chat, and even added our discount coaches. We didn't want to leave anyone out, and we said that we don't want to leave anybody out. I know some of you guys in here are here for, wanted the discount on your own products and to be around this community, and that's perfectly okay, and you can stay that way. But we wanted to put this out to where anybody that is ready to grow and jump on the bus and really work on building their business to make an income for themselves and their family. And that's how we worded it, so that they know this wasn't just let's learn some awesome skills, whether you use it or not. This is why we're going to do this training, so that you can build a business and be successful in it. So we we put that out there, and to be honest, we got quite a bit more good response than we were getting. And we said, if this isn't for you, go ahead and no problem, take yourself out of this message group, because you don't need to be in it if it's not something that you wanted. And we've had like 3 coaches that took themselves out, but there was no hard feelings, like it's okay. So now it's, let's see if they're going to show up when we open the training next week. You know what I mean? But it'll be like a daily accountability and stuff. So we're going to try something like that and see how that works. But I think just as, you know, like Summer's always telling us to make sure, you know, we ask them, I had not been asking my coaches for permission. And some of the ones that are fired up and that do, you know, have that burning desire and wanting to grow and constantly always checking in with me, you know, I hold them to the feet a little bit more, you know, when they kind of fall. And I'm always asking them now, and this just happened recently, if I can, you know, ask for permission to remind them what they're fighting for if they start to gear off or they start to slip and stop doing some of those things. And that has been helping. Just those little words, it's amazing, but it does make a difference, because you're always questioning ourselves if we're doing enough as a leader, you know. So that was a really good point, Jen. That was awesome. Anybody else have anything wonderful to say?
I was just going to say really quick that there was a call a few months ago. It was a Danny call, really before I got to know you people and ever went to Danny, that kind of changed my life as a leader. And it was, Summer had said, the moment that you quit, I'm probably going to mess it up, but something like the moment you quit taking ownership over their successes is when you'll stop taking ownership of their failures. And that hit me really hard and made me really have a gut check of like, okay, how often when they are hitting Success Club 15, am I feeling like I did something in that? Or when they reach the next rank or something. I don't think there's anything wrong with like using that as knowing if you're, you know, following the recipe yourself. So for me, on the flip side, when you're saying like, how do you help them take ownership or whatever? I think as long as you know you're following the recipe, it's when I'm not following the recipe and they're failing, then I start taking ownership. So I think it always goes back to us. If we're following the recipe and not taking ownership over their successes, those types of feelings start kind of falling away.
Totally, Jana. No, that's awesome. Exactly, because, you know, to be honest, I had been struggling to get through my own workout programs, and I recommitted myself, and it's pretty crazy how all of a sudden now, and that I've been sharing that and the excitement in that I've had a couple of my own coaches that had been struggling with that as well for quite some time. So they were wondering, you know, they're having a hard time growing and moving forward in different areas because they weren't following.
Where'd you go? There she's back.
Gosh. What happened? I have no idea what happened, you guys. I'm so sorry. That was the strangest thing. And it's still recording, like it's like as if I didn't even leave and then I just left and then came. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. So I don't even know what I was saying now. Oh, so yeah. So as soon as I started working on me again and making sure I recommitted myself. I have not skipped a day. Like I've decided to choose this one program and I'm doing it and I'm working hard on me again as well. And that's showing. Like that's kind of they're starting to take ownership, the ones that were struggling in that as well, which would struggled in other areas in their business. And now it's like starting to come together a little bit more. So I think, you know, we have to take ownership in every aspect of, you know, the recipe, because if we leave something out, then it just doesn't work the way it's supposed to, you know.
Along the same lines, I remember something from Danny that was a real big gut check for me, was if you need somebody else to motivate you, then you're nothing but a pawn. And so you have to think about that for the people that you're leading as well. So it's not your job to motivate them. It's your job to follow the recipe yourself and show them that it's working. As long as you're doing that, then you're doing your job. You're being the leader that you need to be, and you're stepping up. So again, you can't take ownership for them not being motivated or not being successful, just like Jana was saying. but you can't put the responsibility on yourself. You know, like you're not a bad leader because they're not doing well. Okay, as long as you do the recipe, follow the recipe, and show that it's working, then that's all you can really do.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think I feel like I am following the recipe. Obviously, I need to work, you know, continue, make sure, like evaluate that I am following it perfectly. But I feel like my life is better. Every area of my